CAT interviews at Uber, Confluent, Indeed, and many more companies. I've seen it all. After countless hours on the other side of the table, I know exactly what top companies are looking for, especially in LLD. In this course, I'll share the insider blueprints, what to focus on, especially key design patterns, how much multithreading, very important, counter question, traps, and how to tackle them confidently. This course is structured, practical, and tailored on what companies are looking for right now. Let's get you interview ready right now. Now let's start off with what exactly you guys have been waiting for, which is LLD plus concurrency interview questions. Now, one prerequisite before you start on to these problems is very humbly that you should have gone on basic LLD interview problems. Elsewise, you will literally get so badly overwhelmed and you would not be knowing how exactly any LLD problem should be answered. Whatever code I'm going to show you, although I will tell what exactly you can write in an LLD round, but this is going to be a very insanely large code. And this is again, this will be only one code which I want to cover so that you know exactly in machine coding around how exactly you can portray things. But whatever we have seen previously is very ideal for any LLD round. All of them will cover a simple 1 hour interview. But this one, which you're going to see, it's literally super depth, everything. So make sure that you know what exactly need to be delivered. For that, you will have to watch the in sequence. Now, another prerequisite, because it's a concurrency, because you will involve concurrency and multithreading in that. So I expect that you guys must have watched concurrency crash course. Even if not, then you should know about basic synchronization, executors, locks, and semaphore. This is what you should know at least. And again, I'll say that go ahead and watch a crash course. It's just roughly about 7.5 hours. So yeah, with that said, we will start off. Now, although again I'm repeating, I'll tell you a lot of stuff, but make sure that focus on what exactly I'm stressing on, and then don't ask me in the comment section below, Aryan, will I write this? Will I write that? No. Watch the video properly. Now, the question is movie ticket booking system. Before we start off, any booking system, I'm not even saying ticket, any booking system, if anyone asks, you can apply the same logic, same concept, everything same. Which means that if it's a concert booking, if it's a match, let's say cricket match, football match, if it's a movie booking, if it's an airline seat booking, if it's a train seat booking, if it's a hotel, room booking, if it's a car, cab booking, any kind of booking, any kind of reservation you can do with this simple problem, right? Now, with that said, it is one of the most frequently asked problem. No one can beat this. One is car parking lot. Another is this one, which is, again, if someone has to incur or if someone has to ask you concurrency multithreading, they will ask you movie booking system. And again, for the folks who don't know, recently there had been a lot of concerts where the tickets are going sold out. Again, I don't follow these concerts as such, but there have been a lot of demand, and that is what this problem is actually. But it's such a great problem. With that said, I hope so you guys know the drill of all the questions which we discussed. So firstly, I will show you what exactly happens in a booking system. Then we go on to actual interview setting, in which we'll discuss the questions on how exactly things can go and how you should take things in an interview. Then obviously we'll discuss with the interviewers what exactly is happening. Then we'll go on to key components. Then we'll go on to my design patterns and design principles and all the practices which I can have. Then we will see corresponding class diagram. Now, if you have not been following the course, it's your fault, but we have already mentioned quite a lot of times it's impossible for you to make class diagrams, so don't try to even do that. We always tell what exactly you need to do and how exactly you need to do, but again, this is only for your visualization stuff that you know the class diagram. All the notes will be on website, so know on that part as well. You will see, right, these kind of notes, these are actually notes for you. Now, coming back, which means whatever I am teaching right now, all of that will be available on the website, so don't worry on that part. Now, coming on back, After that, we will discuss the entire code, because itself in this, as I mentioned, I will discuss, like a production level machine code, like machine coding around. That's the reason this piece of video, or this video, will be pretty big, and the code itself will be pretty huge. Am I saying that you like this huge code in an LLD round? Not at all. Impossible. So make sure you focus on what exactly I am saying is an important factor, and that exactly you will be writing up. And ultimately, we will wrap up. Now, with that said, because again, obviously the code will be pretty large and you might get confused and all that stuff, the actual code will be available on our GitHub repo. You can just go and check my username, and that you will check CWA low level design code, and that you can actually see the corresponding movie ticket booking system corresponding code. Although I'll be referring the GitHub code as well, meanwhile I'll be explaining, but obviously it is much more easier to explain, understand, and grasp things on one note, because that's exactly how you will be going through an interview. Now, with that said, I have mentioned all the stuff which I wanted to show you. It's going to be a very big code. Why? Because we will keep things like controller, then service, then model. Again, I have not kept a DAO layer because I don't want to interact with database. I'll keep everything in memory, but obviously in production code basis, you will actually have a DAO layer as well. All that stuff which I'm telling right now, I specifically told in these videos as well, that if you go about in such a structured manner, you will literally end up wasting your time and will not be focusing on the core thing. But again, in this video, I just wanted to show you just for once, that how exactly it can actually look like. Now, with that said, as I mentioned, do I recommend it? Never. No. This is, if you want to do something fruitful in your 1 hour, obviously, please skip this thing. Which means please don't write this. You will see in all the LLD problems, in all of them, we have followed a very simple structure. Controller, or maybe, a simple handler, and the model. That's it. We have not kept unnecessary services and all that stuff. For the folks who don't know the structure, so the structure is that your user will simply call or interact with the controller, right? Simple HTTP request, come here. Now this will simply divert the request to the corresponding service layer where the actual business logic lies. Now this service layer will interact with your DAO layer, which will internally handle the database connection and all the interactions with the database. If you want to do any CRUD operations, that will be handled at that specific thing. Now to actually help keep things uniform, we have models which we use everywhere. That is your actual structure. But obviously, if you write controller, service, model, DAO, you will spend 3 or 4 hours at least 2 hours. But if you have just 1 hour, obviously, go ahead with how we have been teaching all these problems. There is no comparison, and obviously it is not possible to implement everything. And in this video also, I will just specifically tell, if it is asked as a simple LLD question, then you should focus only and only on booking. Only on booking, right? Again, I'm repeating, only on booking. Why? Because you only want to focus on booking, and that to booking seats. That should be your prime focus. Although I'll go on to, but yeah, I'm just giving a disclaimer because the video is going to be a bit big. Now, with that said, I also mentioned here, focus on the seat booking logic. And when I say booking logic, to make the corresponding class, focus on a booking service or a booking controller. Again, you might say, RN, I will call the, ask for the request on the booking controller, but then I will divert my request to booking service. If you will keep on doing this, obviously your time will get over. Now, with all that said, if you want to understand how exactly to do in 1 hour, please watch those LLD videos which are here. This is not a good problem for you to start off if you haven't seen any of these problems and if you don't know what exactly to write. Because people usually tell everything, and then you as a viewer don't have an idea what exactly the person or the interviewer is looking for. Now, with all that, Gyan, let's start off. So basically, any booking system will give you a task of managing anything. Here, let's say we have movie shows, because you have to book something, which means you have to reserve something. Book as in reserve. Now, in concert, you will reserve a ticket. In movie, you will reserve a seat. In airline, you will reserve a seat. In train, also a seat. In hotel, also a room. In car, it's a cab, a simple vehicle. So, Obviously, whenever you reserve, you will have to pay someone, and that's where the payment will come up. So the task or the main portion here is that how do you handle multiple concurrent requests? And with that, how will you manage seat availability? Now, why it is such a big deal? I'm not sure for the folks who have attended or who have just tried to even book. There was one concert which happened. There was some star, rising star. No, like there was some concept. Like there was Diljit Singh concert. There was other concerts also happening, and in that you must have seen that your movie booking system platforms which we have. I even forgot the names, what's happening to me. But yeah, like you have multiple platforms like Make My Trip and stuff, book My Show and stuff. So in that Book My Show and stuff, you would have seen that they have to properly sell only the required number of seats. They cannot overbook or underbook. That's the thing. Because let's say if you booked and then after booking they just tell, okay, no bro, the booking which you did was not available now. What's the point? Like my money is cut, my money will come in back 7 days. I would have booked it from someone else. So it's kind of very hectic if you will not properly handle the booking. If you do overbooking or underbooking, it's kind of issue with your business, as in like you will get in loss or your customers will not be happy and so on and so forth. So handling multiple requests, especially while booking, is very important. And here, because we are handling multiple requests, we have to maintain seats. Because obviously for us, if there's a show, obviously if there's a simple movie show, then obviously I will have some, let's say 15 seats. So I have to book only 15 seats. As soon as they are booked, I cannot let other person stand here. No, that's not possible. And that is the thing. And again, even for concerts, there's a space that, okay, in this space, these many people can come, in this space, these many people can come, and so on and so forth. So they cannot just oversell any amount. They have still a margin of overselling when you are standing, but not while sitting. So obviously, you will have to put that threshold. So with that said, let's start off with how exactly, again, right now I'm just telling as a high level what you should know about any booking system. Then we'll start off with actual interview, that how you will portray, what you will portray, and then what you will say and so on and so forth, how the conversation will go on back and forth. Now, obviously, because it's a movie booking system, let's stick to movie now. Now, when we stick to movie, we will simply have any movie. Now, to enact that, let's take a simple example, very simple example. Always, I have mentioned that if you want to understand anything, enact the process from two sides. One from the admin side, who have built the system, and one from the user side, a simple user side. Now, user, as a user, you have hundred of times opened Book My Show to book any event or let's say any stuff. But as an admin side also, let's look once. So for an admin, my task was to make a show like Book My to make an app like Book My Show. So primarily, I will allow multiple theaters to register onto me. Right? I'll allow multiple theaters to register onto me. When I say register onto me, I'll simply say, okay, bro, you will register. Now, again, there are multiple theaters. Let's say one in Komangla, one in MG Road, one in Bellandur, and so on and so forth. Now, again, these places are the places in Bangalore, India. Now, obviously, what happened to my pen? Okay, for every theater, right? For every theater, that theater will have some screens like IMAX, Gold, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, these screens I can have multiple as well. Like for example, for normal screen, I can have 2 normal screens. But obviously, screens are what you actually go into a hall type thing. That is called a screen in this case, which is kind of IMAX could have been there, or maybe some Gold, Platinum, and all that thing. Now, what happens is that as a production side, movie comes up. Now that movie will be released on this theater, but it will be shown on a specific screen, because there could be movie 1, movie 2, movie 3, and movie 4. Again, movie 2, let's say, shown on another screen, movie 3 on another screen, movie 4 on another screen, and so on and so forth. And is it directly one-to-one linked? Let's say movie or screen? Not really, because this movie on this screen will only be shown for 2 hours. Next 2 hours, it will be another movie. Let's say movie 5. Next 2 hours, it will be movie 6, and so on and so forth. So basically, I can easily say that there's a show which will happen at, let's say, 12 p.m., right? And that show represents that it will be this movie which will be played on this screen. That is what my show can represent. So basically, it's kind of a linking thing between a screen and a movie. And with that, my admin will be happy. Obviously, my admin has to take care of, multiple theaters, multiple screens, multiple shows, multiple movies, and all that stuff. But he has done his job of handling a sufficient number of stuff. Now let's come from the user perspective. What can happen from the user perspective? So from the user perspective, what you do? You simply go on to the simple home page, then you search for a movie, right? When you search for a movie, then there will be multiple theaters which will come up. Then you choose a specific theater, right? Theater. So here you search for a movie, then you search for a theater. Then after theater, you will search for which screen I should actually go to, because obviously with that your price will depend. And then after you choose a screen, obviously that screen is multiple seats will be there. Then let's say you and your girlfriend are there who are going to watch a movie, so you guys will take, let's say, this seat, and then you will want to book this seat. Now when you say you will want to book, obviously when you say you will book, which means you will select the seat and will go for payment. When the payment will be processed completely, then you will get these two seats as booked under your name. And obviously you will see that whenever the booking completes, you will get a ticket, a simple QR code, something like, that there's a kind of a ticket which comes up, will have a QR code representing that so and so person with one more person. There are two tickets in the name, and this is what you can show to scan at the gate when you will come to watch a movie. And then you will simply go and watch the movie. Right? This is what exactly happens from a user end. This is from the admin end, and that's exactly what you need to know. And this is what I call as the inaction of the process. With the inaction, it helps us a lot easy way to know the entities, because people get confused. How will I know all the entities? Simple inaction, right? And again, this exact same thing, although I will not repeat on next problems, but this is the exact same thing I have been telling in all the problems. In this beginning itself, I told you, enact and then figure out the process. But coming on back, this is what we know. So just to wrap up the portion in the beginning, that what happens in this is that you have theaters with multiple screens, and basically each screen will have some number of seats onto it. And basically every screen can host multiple shows, because a show is a specific movie happening at a specific time is a show on a specific screen. So a specific movie happening at a specific time on a specific screen is a show. So, and obviously my users can browse any shows. When I say shows, I mean they will look for a movie, and then they will look for a theater, and then they will look for a screen, and then they will ultimately select seats for booking. Obviously, I cannot afford, because obviously, let's say what happens, like what happened that you were booking, you were like literally you were booking, selected the seats and you were about to do the payment, but then the fight started between you and your girlfriend, right? You and your girlfriend, the fight started, and let's say your phone, it is stuck there, like because you are busy in fight as in like verbal fight, not physical fight. Verbal fight is actually happening, and let's say she wants something else, but then you are doing something else, and then like you kept it here. But what if all seats are booked, right? And there is one more couple who is looking for this seat, but because you are fighting, you have holded your phone, you are not booking it. Obviously, they should get a chance to book the seat. Elsewise, this seat, if you also don't pay, obviously they will go and look for other movie, because obviously both of them are looking for the same seat. So what will happen? I'll get a business loss. That is the reason the admin will say, bro, I just want to sell seats. What I will do is I will keep a timeout. Bro, if you can complete the payment in, let's say, 2 minutes, well and good. If not, I will cancel your payment and I will show these open to other people or other couples too. And that is how you will not let your business go in harm. And that is best thing which you can do. And that actually happens for everything, wherever you go. So ultimately, the operations will look like that users will view all the shows, Users can view the seats for what are there. User can select the seats. User will temporarily, it will become temporarily unavailable as you are about to book. Again, the payment as soon as it is completed within this timeout period, I will simply make them completely unavailable for others, which means it will be booked entirely, and I should make sure that I'm handling concurrent booking request. That's the primary thing. Now, lastly, some of the safety nets, which means I should have a good locking mechanism, because obviously I'm kind of having multiple users coming in to lock to book the same seats, same number of seats in the same show. So I should let all of them properly consume this thing, right? Now, which this will help us to prevent double locking, like double booking. And obviously my session timeout should be there just so that I can release the locks on the seats which I have kept, and a notification system. Let's say if there are a lot of traffic and you're not able to book, but you tried a lot, but then ultimately let's say all of them go away and now you are remaining, then they will say, okay bro, you wanted to book something, it is available, you want to book, and that's how you can simply book back. This is exactly how Zomato works. Let's say if you go into a specific restaurant and then you click, okay, remind me when this restaurant comes, becomes available, then Zomato ping you back that bro, now that Zomato, like now that store is online, you can just order it. The same thing actually happens in for these tickets, because they just want to sell. Their primary thing is just for you to notify, bro, it is available, please buy it. Again, it's a business. So with all that, I hope you guys know about what exactly you have to know about any booking system, here primarily a movie booking system. Now, with that said, let's start off with a simple question. The interview mentions, please design a movie booking system. Now, you as a candidate who have watched Aryan's video, you know that you are looking primarily, when the person is asking for a booking, he's primarily looking for concurrency, which means that no matter what, I will have to focus on seats and the corresponding seat booking. Again, I will tell the corresponding, how we will book seats, how we will lock seats, but is it actually how it is done in the industry? Not really. Why I am saying not really? Because if it is a concert, right, it's a very big concert. So concerts are many times divided into big chunks. You will see that usually it's a U-shaped, right? And in U-shaped also there are 3 levels. And on each level also there is a kind of chunk. Let's say, this is a chunk, 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 and so on and so forth. They are kind of chunks. And the moment you click on a chunk and then you try to book some things, then you're easily able to book. The moment you click out of the chunk, it is available for other people to watch or book, and so on and so forth. Now, again, although I'll explain all of this, in more nuanced way while we are doing a locking, but I'm just telling that in actual production codes for the, companies like BookMyShow and stuff, they primarily have a very complex locking mechanism, which involves as minimal locking as possible or as minimal hindrance for others as possible. Do we do the same thing? Not really, because our task is to achieve a simple locking mechanism. I'm saying not worst, but not best. Now, let's continue. The candidate simply says that, okay, I will manage multiple shows, because obviously there will be different movies, and for each movie, it will be happening on a screen. And with that, and again, a screen belongs to a theater. And with that, I will know that, okay, this is a show which is happening. All these lines are written not by me, but by enacting this process. So I'll enact this process, and enacting the process itself means writing those lines and then putting them in a concise manner. All that I have taught in a simple LLD video as well. Now, again, I know I'm wasting a lot of time just explaining same thing again and again if you have been watching again, but I swear people, even after listening 100 times, they still miss the same thing. So yeah. Now, obviously, my users can browse my shows and just select some seats for booking. And as they do the selection, primarily I have to make sure that I will do or handle that concurrent seat selection, and I should prevent double booking. It should not happen that there were two couples, one here and one here. Let's say they kind of tried to book the same seat obviously when they will come or arrive, they will not have a good, good mood, because now again it's a business hindrance also, because if these two are booked and let's say other two you do a double booking, then obviously one of them has to cancel. But when they will cancel both the tickets, which means you are losing on one seat unnecessarily if you will do that, if you will do double booking. So it's all linked to business. My business will be hampered. It's the reason I'm just going extra mile to make sure that I will do proper booking. Now, obviously, a booking process will say that choose a seat, do a payment, and then get the ticket out. Now, obviously, my system should be good, that it is scalable enough that it can handle very large number of requests. Again, in terms of code, I'm saying, not I'm saying in terms of HLD, in terms of simple code. Although in HLD also we will see the same problem. That will be very interesting. Again, I swear it will be very interesting. Now, the question which you can ask is, obviously the interview will say, obviously it looks pretty good. The question which will be asked next is that, or what you can ask next is that, how do you want to handle concurrent users trying to book the same seats? Because there can be multiple ways. If the person has some preference, he might tell. If then go ahead with what I will tell. And what happens if a user selects a seat but does not complete the payment? Obviously there should be timeout, which the person can tell, or again they can be an instant timeout, like instant like either you don't lock or you don't have that timeout logic at all. Just to keep things simple, I'm saying maybe your interviewer might not be interested in that. He might be interested in a simple locking. So he might make a task easy by ignoring this altogether. Now again, the same thing, that is there any time constraints for it? So obviously, let's say interview mentioned a couple of points regarding that you should support multiple screens in a theater, and obviously having different movies. Both, browsing the request and booking the request. Again, browsing is literally another ball game altogether with booking. Booking actually means selecting a seat for booking. Browsing is just checking. That's it. So in browsing, you should not lock. In booking, you should lock. If you are not familiar with what I mean by lock, again, I'm repeating last time, please watch this series in sequence. I'll not repeat it now anyway. Now, obviously, I should manage concurrent booking very efficiently, and I should avoid double booking, and I should implement my timeout as well. Now, with all that said, I will just compile all these points and I will just put up as at one place that, okay, these were mentioned by me. Any extra point mentioned by the interviewer, I'll just compile them and I'll good to go. Now, before we start off, just a very big disclaimer. This is still a lot of stuff which cannot be done in an interview. So, what you should do? You should focus on one main thing, that is concurrent seat selection, which means that you will focus on booking. Again, you can name it as a booking service or booking control and so on and so forth, anything. So booking service should make sure that you are booking seats properly. You can also ask that do you want your users to book just one seat at a time, or you want them to book a list of seats? You can also ask this, but obviously one seat is very easy. Probably they might not tell you this thing because it's very, very, very easy. Booking multiple seats at the same time is actually pretty hard, because you have to fine grain, do a more fine grain locking for it. Now, with all that said, making sure that if you are in an actual interview, please only focus on booking service. Don't, again, in the code I will show you literally a lot of services. Firstly, okay, I'll show you a lot of services. As you can see, this is the code which I'm going to show you, right? This entire code. Are you thinking like you would implement this all the classes? Not really. It's impossible. Just to implement all of this, like all the corresponding classes, it's impossible for you to do it. Impossible. And especially in even if you start writing it now, just to copy, you still cannot copy all this in 1 hour or even 45 minutes. So now what? Do as what I mentioned and tell exactly what I mentioned. What I'm saying is that only focus on booking service. Make core entities, but don't implement its getters, setters, and other methods. We'll go on to it when I will explain them, that what I will be focusing on. You should focus on the same thing. For the folks who want to go deep into every function implementation, they can come and watch this here, or obviously the code will also be visible on the website. Again, it's very simple. Just click on any, let's say splitwise, go on to any code. Simply the entire piece of code is available for you here. You can simply make sure that, okay, you are understanding it, copying it, so on and so forth. Again, the code here is literally perfect. Coming on back, because we literally saw the inaction of the diagram, we know core entities. It will be a theater. It will be, let's say, it will be, okay, let's change the color. It will be a theater. It will be a screen. It will be a seat. It will be a show. It will be a movie. It will be, let's say, user. It again, you can keep admin, but not required. It is also a user. Then what? You will have booking. You will have, again, I will ignore ticket for now. Although you can keep tickets, it's perfectly fine. You can have one more entity for tickets, but not required. I'll just confirm booking. That's more than sufficient. I will have payment. Again, for these are the corresponding services which will be there. But I can keep different models and stuff as well. And on top of it, yeah, again, for seats, you will see that I will have seat lock as well, because now why it is required, why I can't use why can't I use a simple lock object which Aryan have told in the crash course of locking, or why can't I use reentrant lock and stuff? It's primarily because you will see later on, but it's primarily because that this seat lock will maintain that for which seat it is being locked for how much time. And that's how I know that this seat was first logged at this time, let's say 12 p.m. And second time, if I checked, is this seat still logged or not? I will simply check if the timeout is, let's say, 2 minutes. I'll check if it is past if it is past initial time plus 2 minutes, if it is past that time, which means it is unlocked. And that is the reason I need to keep another object to maintain this state. Okay, I'll go on to deep as well. No worries. Now, let's proceed further. With the core entities. As we saw, that we will have a theater, we'll have a screen, we will have a movie, we'll have a show, we'll have a seat, we will have a user, and obviously, as I was mentioning, that we should have some seat lock provider which can handle specific locking. Although you can name it as a seat lock handler, seat lock controller, seat lock service, and so on and so forth. Anything. But primarily it is, I have specifically mentioned so that you can decouple things and only focus on your seat lock provider as well. It's completely fine if you just focus on this main part as well, because your prime task right now here is to lock seats. But obviously we can have a couple of enums, because if you're booking something, right, I can have a couple of enums. Enums are, fixed number of stuff. For booking, it will be either created, confirmed, or expired booking, or for seats itself, you can have different type of seats. Because here I'm assuming it's a machine coding round, so this will be required if it's a machine coding round. All this putting up all the entities and stuff. Verbally, if you can just tell I can have some seat categories and then skip this altogether, it's perfectly fine. Now, let's start with the actual stuff. Obviously, I'll do concurrency management. I will do session management, which will say that after this is time. Okay, please reopen the booking, as in make the seats available for other person. I will do payment integration. Obviously, things will be scalable for multiple theater, screen, and multiple users as well. The biggest challenge is the design issues or the design challenges. Here, just to show off, here I'm saying again, repeat my words, just to show off, I am using repository pattern, service pattern, all that shit, not required. Even strategy pattern itself, if you verbally say it, it's more than sufficient. Strategy pattern, factory pattern, you will see, factory pattern, all that. If you verbally say it, observer pattern, we saw that we want to notify users. If you verbally say it, more than sufficient. This problem is not to see these design skills, these ones. Verbally say it, it's important. You will have to mention verbally, else the person can think of you don't know about stuff. So verbally mention these things, that you can have a simple repository patterns, which is a kind of middle layer between your service and your data being stored. You can use strategy pattern, which you obviously, I guess, must be familiar by now. If not, then go and watch the previous videos. Then when I say strategy pattern, for what? For simple seat locking. Right now I will have in-memory locking mechanism, but I can have database backlogs or maybe distributed lock providers. I can have different locking implementation as well. Same way, I will have a service pattern. Again, all these words are more of linked to us, a very curated Spring Boot project which takes 3 hours to build. That is what actually I have mentioned all these. Is it required? Not really. So basically this simply says that, okay, your business logic key stays in a service, user interact with the controller interact with the service interacts with the, your actual DAO layer, and then that interacts with your DB. That's actually what your stuff happens. Now, obviously, to make things extensible and stuff, I will use dependency injection. Although we have been using this in all of our past problems, but yeah, just mentioning verbally because we have already told in a lot of these previous problems as well that dependency injection is not possible, because obviously for that you have to make a new class, new service, inject that specific service, accept that, and then make a controller and then call that other service. All that shit not required. In terms of time, I have to trade off with verbally speaking and then moving ahead. Same way, because I have different movies, shows, theaters, all the admin tasks to create a movie, show, theater, I can use a factory, because factory is built for creation logic, right? Same way for observer. If I want to notify the person on email, SMS, push notification, I can use observer. And with that said, we can actually start implementing. Now, verbally telling everything good. What exactly you should be implementing in a machine coding round? Literally everything. What I'm going to tell in this video, right? Everything. In a LLD round, focus only. Again, you should skip factory, right? You will not create movie, shows, theaters. Don't create it. Not at all a main task. You can use you can use your strategy, because obviously you will be focusing on locking. So you can just make a lock interface. Let's say iLog provider. I as an interface log provider, and then having a concrete log provider. This is what we will also do. So you can keep that and also inject this specific iLog provider as in like actual concrete log provider. So make sure that you are using as a constructor, you are actually having this iLog provider. So again, we can focus on this portion and we can use this. We can ignore service pattern, repository pattern, all that we can actually ignore, because obviously the prime focus is the time, and we don't have that much time to implement controllers, then call the service, then call actual DO layer. No, not possible. You max to max can keep one controller, and that controller can actually interact a couple of times with a service for a couple of, let's say if it's a booking service, okay, I can have a booking service and a booking controller, right? Maybe that's what's required, but try to keep, let's say, only booking services and different other services. Let's say for doing a seat log, so I have a seat log provider. Then obviously you can just say that I will make a movie booking service, so I'll make a movie create service, or I'll make a show create service, I'll make a theater create service, and so on and so forth. Again, like rather than saying theater create service, say theater service, right? And so on and so forth. But again, don't implement all these, focus on the main thing. Coming on back, let's start off with a diagram. Will you make this diagram? Never. Is it possible? Never. Why I'm showing you? Just to explain what exactly and how exactly you can make it. So you will see that I have firstly put up all the entities which we saw in the very beginning. You have user, you have show, you have movie, you have theater, you have screen, you have seat log, which we mentioned that for a specific seat, I was saying, right, that you need to have another object on which you can actually do a lock. Now if you don't know what this object is and how you take a lock on it, please watch the crash course of this thing. Coming on back, on top of it, I can have a simple booking shares. Okay, this is the corresponding booking that I can just kind of replace booking with a ticket as well. So that's, you can kind of change it so that I just don't want to keep a ticket as well. I just start a booking. Although you can keep booking and ticket, both of them, it's completely fine. Then to handle all of these stuff, right? To handle both admin and to handle both user operations, now we will have services and controllers. So let's see firstly all of them, and then we will see the important ones. So we will have a movie controller and movie service. So admin will call controller will call service. Okay, what else? Else we have a simple, okay, let's come back later on. Then we will have payment controller. You will call controller will call payment service. That will use your strategy design pattern. Okay, this is also done, right? Okay, let's move on now. Okay, why it is not erasing? I'm fed up with this. Now next is your booking controller. So you see booking controller and a booking service. Okay, that also said. You see that these are in pair. That is what is making this diagram very complex or very big. Is it big? Not really. Because, okay, I'll tell why because. Then I will have theater controller and the theater service, which will handle theater, making of theater, all that stuff. Booking will handle your, creating booking and all that stuff. Then I will have show controller and show service, same stuff, same story. And then this is my seat availability service, which will handle corresponding seats, what's the seat availability like, because obviously the entire game altogether is for booking. For booking, you will have to lock seats, you will have to have a locking mechanism. For that, you will want to know what is the seats, which is available, not available, and so on and so forth, because on those only you can actually lock. And that's the reason. If you had very short on time, you should only focus on booking service, your seat availability service, which will tell if the seats are available or not, the locking mechanism, which you will keep the logic here, in a concrete specific class. Why? Because I can replace that. I can use strategy pattern. I can use that specific thing. Let's say in future I want just a different one. Okay, more fine grained one. Okay, just replace this one. And also, again, if you want, you can make these entities, right? These core entities, but I'll highly recommend that just name them, give a couple of names, which means a couple of attributes which are very important, and then just move ahead. Don't write other methods, getters and setters, don't write them. Even like if you want, you can use Lombok. I'm not sure if it will be supported on your compiler and stuff on which you are giving around, but again, that's a kind of your take. Now let's go on and start implementing different things. So obviously, as I mentioned, that for these core classes, let's say movie, I will have, let's say, core thing, movie ID, name, duration, and so on and so forth. Same way for seat, I will have core things. The seat ID, the seat is in which row, the seat is of what category, let's say gold, silver, platinum, and so on and so forth. Again, you can read all these things. I will not go into it. It's not important. Neither you should implement them. And if you have time, you can come back and do it, but not really. Now, the screen obviously will, the screen will belong to a theater and screen will have some seats. Well, as I mentioned in the very beginning, if you guys forget, I'll just remind you again. So this is how a screen will look like. Where is my screen gone? Yeah. So a screen will have some seats and that will be inside a theater. So like that's the thing. That's the reason we just kept that like this, that a screen will be inside a theater and the screen will have some seats. Cool. And obviously I can give an ID and a name as well. Now, secondly, show. Obviously a show is any movie or stuff which is happening on any screen. So a show is any movie happening on a screen at what time is actually a show. Now, what else? Theater. Theater is simple. Theater will have some screens into it and theater will have its name and ID. Again, theater have a lot of other attributes, location, type, rating. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to have it. Okay, next, user. Obviously, user, keep minimal, user name, ID, or maybe address. You can keep email address as a unique identifier, and let's say email name as their name. Now, obviously, booking, just to showcase that what is actually booking. Booking as in by what user, for what show, what all seats did they book, or are they booking, or have they tried to book? Because obviously, that for business everything is important. If a specific user tried something, which means it is interest. So I actually have to run queries on top of, the entire data, which I will collect from the activities of my user just to understand user behavior. And that's very important in today's world, to understand my user behavior. And that's where I will literally log everything down. Now, coming on back to the main stuff, my booking will simply say that, okay, for this specific show, by this specific user, he has booked all, or he has tried to book all these seats. And when I say tried, which means it can have different booking status, which means is it booked, is it confirmed, as in like is it expired, is it booked, or is it like right now created in a phase of booking. Like that's what it is. Now, again, you can go on to it if you want, but it's kind of that. Obviously, for a booking, I can have the corresponding methods. Let's say confirm booking and expire booking and so on and so forth. Now, next is the important stuff. So far, you would have implemented the core entities and just their name with a couple of attributes. That's it. No getters, no setters, no other methods. Now you will come on to seat lock. Why it is required, as I mentioned in the beginning as well, that for any specific seat, if I want to lock it, I should maintain that that seat was locked at what time, because I have a timeout attached. Next time, if someone asks and ask me that is this seat locked, I will check that from the time it was locked to the current time, what is the difference, and is this difference more than the threshold or more than the timeout? If it is, which means I will say, bro, it is unlocked, and now you can try booking this one. Again, although I can run a background thread which will keep on removing the locks as well, it's completely fine. Or you can have a callback as well. There are multiple ways to go about it, but the underlying logic is this. Now, with that said, we will see that obviously, the primary thing is that the locks are acquired by the users when they are booking it. Why? Because I don't want others to book it, to prevent double booking. And with that, my seats are temporarily held. Am I saying permanent? Not really. Permanent means booked. Locked means temporarily held. So there is booked, booked. Some seat booked is permanently held. Some seat locked, it is temporarily held. What if the person tries but his payment fails? Okay, I'll remove the lock. Or it will be removed automatically. There are two things. So that is the reason. There's a slight difference between automatic lock or permanent lock. When I say permanent lock, I mean like actually it's permanently booked or if it is locked. Now, obviously, I have to ensure that only one user should book a seat at a given time for whatever I have. Now, for that, I will take a seat lock. The seat lock says that lock a specific seat, but for a specific show. Now, why is it required? Because if you remember that a seat is an attribute of a screen, and a screen, inside a screen, the seats are fitted, embedded, you can say. So for all, like for the entire day, the seats will remain here only. But a show happens for, let's say, 2 hours. So this booking of a seat, right, is happening only for those 2 hours. So this is, I am saying that this seat is being booked for a show and not for a movie or a screen. So it is being booked for a show and I'm booking a specific seat. And obviously I should tell that for how much time it is being booked. With that, I will have that logic of, in my seat log that I have to leave that lock or not. So my seat log will say that who logged it. Now, why it is required, who logged it? Because so as to have defensive coding. Defensive coding says that someone else comes up and just simply remove the log. That's not possible. Only the user who acquired the log should be able to remove the log. That's the reason we can just have, okay, it is logged by this person, and when I will be unlocking it, or someone tries to call the unlock API, then they will have to tell that they are they are those users who actually logged it. Now, obviously, I will also involve the log time, at what time it was logged. I'll also have a timeout, that after how much timeout it should actually unlock automatically, and then I will have a show and a seat. Now you will see that here the timeout and unlocking is not happening automatically. Someone has to call it. Although in other problems, here, let's say in these problems later on, because already this is already very long problem, because I am discussing a lot of stuff apart from multi-threading, but other I will keep very short and concise in terms of that how you approach them in terms of multi-threading. But yeah, otherwise you will see that we will run a separate background thread which can do this task. Again, there are multiple ways to approach it, but yeah, one way is that thing. Or you can have a callback which can actually do something and do the other operation, whatever you want. So obviously we have a seat lock, but as we argued earlier that someone has to do the task, so we will have a seat lock provider which will do the corresponding task. For that, to use strategy pattern, I will use an interface first. So the interface will say, bro, lock seats, unlock seats, validate a lock, and then get the lock seats. Now, there is a use case of why everything is written. So the lock seat says simply I will give you some seats For this user, lock all these seats for this show. Same way, unlock seat says that, bro, all these seats, this user have come back by saying that for this show, please unlock all these seats. So I'll do a validation, and there comes up that validation of lock. Validation says that was this user actual owner of this seat for this show? If yes, okay, I'll say yes. And ultimately, I should make sure that I will get you the locked seats. Why? Because if for any user at any point in time, I have to show him available seats, I should make sure that I remove the locked seats and the booked seats so that I will show him the available seats. Cool. Let's go on to a concrete lock provider. In this case, I'll keep a very simple seat lock provider, which is an in-memory provider. This will simply say, bro, I will do the locking task for you. Now, with that said, multiple people can implement this in their own way. I have shown a way. I will show you an alternate way as well, more complex as well. But again, this is simplest and very easy to understand as well. Although, when you will go ahead in further problems, you will see, more complicated locking behaviors. But this one is the first one, so I've kept it very simple. But again, things will be complicated, so make sure that you watch all the LLD plus concurrency problems. And again, if you want to understand more about all the locking and stuff, please feel free to watch Crash Course. Coming on back, I will have a lock seats, right? Unlock seats, validate lock, and then get lock seats. Let's go on to each of them individually in a detail, because this is the main thing. The rest all is not the main thing. This is the main thing. So main thing says that, okay, so my task is that I have to lock seats by a user for a show. Now, imagine, again, taking the same example, that for a specific show, I will get all these seats and then I will apply lock on that. Now, because show is already an entity, so I don't have to break it down to a screen and a movie. No, because show is already a one entity, screen and movie not required. So I can keep like that show itself. Now, I'm saying that for a show, get me all the seats, and then out of those, I will apply lock on top of it. Now, whenever, again, imagine there are multiple shows happening. Obviously, multiple shows, which means they can happen. Let's say this is a show 1. Okay, let's write. This is show 1, and this is show 2, this is show 3, this is show 4. Right? It is, let's say, happening on screen 1. It is happening on screen 1. It is happening on screen 2. It is happening on screen 3. It is happening, let's say, at 4 p.m. It is happening at 8 p.m. Right? Again, let's say at the same day. It is happening at 4 p.m. It is happening at, let's say, 4 p.m. Cool. Now, there are multiple people who come up. There are multiple people, let's say, who come up. Let's say this is one person, this is another person, and again, representing every person by a thread. Now, obviously, when you are trying to book, like, would you like them to interfere? Like, would you, like, if let's say one person, T1 is booking this one and another is booking this one, would you like them again? It's a different show altogether, on same screen but at different time. So they want to book seats. So will you let them interfere with each other is my question. Obviously not. So what we realized is that multiple threads can actually concurrently book different shows. The only problem will come up when multiple threads are trying to book for the same show. Same show, which means same screen, same time. Which means those seats are limited and I have to handle concurrency only at this point in time. So again, it's important that how you are understanding stuff, because only at a specific time you have to lock. Now, coming on that, whenever I want to show them the seats, show them the seats, I will show them all the seats. I will show them all seats which are not booked. And if my processor is fast, I have pretty much bandwidth, I can also show them seats which are currently not locked. Right? Again, because you know that every seat will have a seat lock attached to them now. So every seat will have a seat lock attached to them. So imagine that I will say by blue that all these seats are booked. So like blue says that all these seats are booked, right? All these seats are booked. Now, seats are booked. Let's say these are booked. And let's say red ones shows that all these seats are locked. Not booked, but locked. Right? This is kind of locked. Like people are still booking in them. So what will happen? Obviously, again, booking is permanent. Locking is temporary because obviously it has a timeout. Logged seat can convert to a booked seat in a while, but obviously like it will be logged in the beginning and then will be converted to booking. So booking ones, blue ones will be permanent. They will be simply permanent. I can simply show them. But you might have also noticed one thing, very general, that whenever you try to open a seat which shows it is open, but the moment you open it, it says okay, it is booked. You say it is logged. Why? Because it takes time. Because again, as I mentioned, things are concurrent. Things are super concurrent. So if the person has clicked it and then have started booking, maybe by that time, this red symbol would not have indicated on your UI. This red symbol would not have come up on your UI. But the moment you clicked it to book it, then you will realize, oh, it is actually being booked by someone or already booked. So that's where concurrency part comes in. That you showed them seats which are available. Again, in real life scenarios, it is possible that whenever you are showing someone something, it is possible that up and down can come up. When I say up and down, which means few seats are still being shown, but maybe at the background they are locked or they are booked. Again, because obviously it might take time to reflect. Booked reflection happens because it's constant, but locking usually happens at a very cut to cut time, and especially when there's a very high volume of concurrent bookings happening. Imagining now I have got some seats which I can view. Now my task is that, again, when I say my task, which means that let's say this person will simply take, let's say he just did a selection. Let's say if I just take the color back, he just did the selection of this one, and let's say this one. And then he just clicked book. Whenever he will click book, obviously I should lock it first. Now, when I say lock it first, the entire catch is that I should also make sure that it is not logged by anyone. And the biggest challenge here comes up with, let's say, simple example of 3 seats. And again, this is the reason why I'm going a bit deep into it, because people usually tell you wrong code. On YouTube, you will find that everyone will teach you this question, but everyone will tell a wrong code for it. Why? Because they don't understand locking by themselves, or they don't understand the implications of what approach they have told. So if I go on to a seat level locking, which means that there is, let's say, seat 7, 8, 9, right? Another seats which I have is 5, 6, 7. Okay, I have these seats. Now you will say, Aryan, this is repeating. Yes, I know it is repeating. So, okay, let's take 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Now, what happens is that you got 3 people. Again, imagine it's the same show right now. And imagine it's only 2 people. People 1, like person 1, person 2. Same, thread 1, thread 2. So, if again, right now, this thread 1 just chose 7, 8, 9 as their seats, and they just pressed book now, or let's say pay now. Let's take pay now. Let's say they click pay now. And the same time, this person T2, they chose seats 5, 6, 7, and they also click pay now. And they also clicked pay now. Now, the challenge here is that obviously, like both of them are trying to book, and one of them has a seat which is common. So ideally, you should let other one not book at all. Because obviously he cannot book this if he's booking, because he wants to book again either all or none. There's nothing concept like, again, if I want to keep it modular, I can just showcase that, okay, let's say for this person, let's say if I give him the chance, which means he's right now at the actual pay mode, and I will just showcase him. Bro, what happened is that out of all the seats which you have chosen, one seat is actually logged. Would you like to still let me continue with the remaining seats? This is the business logic. It can happen. But right now I'm just assuming that if I'm able to complete or book all these seats, only in that case I will let them proceed. Elsewise, I'll let them drop the corresponding payment, or let's say the corresponding booking. So what I will do, I'll simply do that. Okay, in this case, that I have some group of seeds which technically I should be locking, and I primarily want that there should be no common seed. So it would have been much more easier that whenever they're about to book, right, about to, let's say, click the pay now button, or let's say book button, before that I will lock the show. Again, it might sound, Aryan, it's very weird. You're locking the show, entire show, which means all people accessing the same show, right, will not be able to book a seat for that moment. I'll say I'm locking the show only to lock these seats. Understand? I'm locking the show only to lock these seats, which means that I will lock the show. I'll just have to iterate very quickly that is any of these seats already locked. If not, then simply lock it. Now, when this is locked, I'll just unlock my show, which means that the next thread will come up, and then he will process. I want to book the seats. Again, I will iterate quickly. Are any of this locked? Oh, as soon as it is locked, I will tell the error page, and as I will click, and as I will know that one of this is already locked, so I have to show him a error page, or let's say a page in which I will give him a chance to go back and book. I will simply unlock. So you see that locking of a show is happening just to unlock those seats. It is not happening for booking it. No, it is happening only for a specific millisecond time, just to lock those lists of seats and just to verify if these are locked or not. As soon as I just verify if all are unlocked, I'll quickly lock it, and then I'll release the lock from the show. I'm not releasing the lock from my this thing. I'm not releasing the lock from my seats. I'm just releasing the lock from my show, which means the other people can come up and now try to lock. As soon as I check if this is having an issue which is already locked, simply quickly firstly release the lock, and then concurrently show him an error that, bro, please go back and try to book your seats back. With that, it will never happen that I will have, because obviously when, let's say, this person would have clicked first, and then this person would have clicked first, obviously one thread will reach. It's a luck. Let's say he or he. If it's at the exact same moment, obviously only one thread will reach here. If only one thread will reach here, I know exactly for sure that one person will get all the seats locked. Other person will have to do a recheck when his locking time will come up, and that's when he will be denied, or maybe given a rechance to go back and try to book for other seats. And this is not happening for viewing seats. No, this is happening only when you selected the seats and you're going for a payment mode, which means you're final that you will book them. Only then I will take that risk of locking the entire show. I'll not lock your show for just viewing it. No, I'm not mad. That's the beauty of how you can go about it. Now, there are other ways, how you can approach this problem, which you might think of, Aryan, it's much better, and so on and so forth. Which means, okay, Aryan, I will only the group of seeds which I have, I will sort them, I will make an object out of it, and then I'll lock on that object. Again, it's not possible because it's a list of seeds. If it's an object, you cannot compare two objects internally, and that is literally very complicated and not possible as well. So that is the most easiest and most efficient solution you can take in terms of this. Again, people literally approach by locking the entire booking system. I have seen people, again, I will show you also, I have seen people doing this mistake, and that too on YouTube as well. But yeah, let's proceed. So what we did is we realized one very basic relation. For a show, I will have a seed which will have a lock associated with it. So I kept the same thing. I have a show. Obviously, that show will have multiple seats, but every seat will have a lock. So I just simply kept that for a show. Simply keep a list or a map of seat, and by a map, because obviously I need another relation to a seat lock. So with all that, I will have a locks. This locks is a concurrent hash map. Aryan, what is this concurrent hash map? Please go and watch the crash course. Now, why it is required concurrent hash map? Because I just want that multiple operation, again, for a specific show, if I want, could happen concurrently, so that I don't run into issues. Again, all the details about concurrent hash map, why it is used, where it is used, all that stuff will be in crash course. Coming on the main part, locking a seat for a specific show and for a specific list of seats. by this user. What I will do, I will firstly get the seed map. So because again, I know I want to lock at a show level. I want to lock at a show level. So I will get this map out. I'll get this map out for this show. For this show, I'll get this map out. When I have got this map, which is a seed lock map, right? Then I know this seed lock map is for a show, for a specific show which we have, right? I will go ahead and lock on this. Again, you can lock on show as well. It's the same thing. With that, what will happen? Now you have locked on the show, which means you are not disturbing any another show. And this lock is only to check that for this list of seeds which you have chosen, is there any existing lock on them? If not, then simply apply lock on them and then simply release the lock as soon as possible. This was the only portion of your lock seeds. So your lock seeds took a lock on your show, but that too for a very small time, just to check if there's already a lock. If not, then lock it and then release the lock on your show, so that anyone else can come back and then check for locks, or maybe do the other business logic which they have. Now, same way for unlock. When I'm trying to just unlock corresponding stuff, I'll just do the same stuff and do the unlocking. Validate lock will do the exact same stuff to validate stuff and just check if it has expired. Again, all this logic, lock is expired, all that stuff. It's pretty simple. That you just got a seat lock and then seat lock just checks if it's expired or not, and that's the main cause. And same way, get locked seats will simply get you the seat locked. Again, it's, if you want, you can synchronize it. If not, then it's completely fine, even if you are up and down a bit for the locked seats. But if you are getting this get seat locked specifically while locking, then it should be pretty perfect. And that's the thing why it will be required for you. Now that said, that you will have corresponding different kind of lock providers. Right now we kept it very simple, very simple. This lock provider which we have it very sweet and simple. Not required you keep it this sweet. You can have different logic as well. But again, why this is sweet and simple? Because it is using synchronized locks, like synchronized keyword, which is pretty perfect. Like I'm not unnecessarily using very hard and fast log.unlock and stuff. I'm not using reintent log. I'm not using futures, complete future, all that stuff. I'm not using here. I'm keeping it much simpler of what could actually be achieved here. So with that said, I will be able to lock my seats. I will be able to unlock my seats. I will be able to validate my lock. I will be able to get the lock seats. And again, I can simply get or integrate any third-party lock providers or any algorithmic lock providers and so on and so forth. This was actually the main part. Even if you implement this thing, this interface, and your booking service involving obviously your seat lock provider, you should be pretty good. But yeah, obviously it's easier said than done to do all the stuff. Now, because we are seeing a very big code, now I will show you a bunch of bullshit classes which are not significant, just will waste your time. For example, one of them is movie service. Movie service will say that, bro, I will get you a movie, I'll create a movie for you. Same way I have a theater service, which will say, bro, I'll get a seat for you, I'll get a theater for you, I'll get a screen for you, I'll create a theater for you, I'll create a screen in a theater for you, I'll create a screen, I'll get a seat in the screen for you, I'll create a screen for you. That all that creation logic, which is literally the simplest operations. Again, why it is in service? Because all the business logic, if you want to keep here, you can keep here. Now, show service, again, the same bullshit stuff that get you the show, create a show, get the show from a screen. Now, you will see that at many places, I'm using this atomic integer. This is only to generate unique IDs, because what if there are multiple admins in your, in your system? Now, usually this ID generation logic happens on the database level, that whenever you insert a record, because database, you keep it super awesome, that actually handles, getting your ID, and then you just get that ID and take that ID. That's usually done. But again, if you want to do yourself, some business logic, maybe if it's a requirement, then you can do it. How? Obviously, keep it atomic so that if multiple admins are trying to insert, let's say, a movie, and let's say he's doing, let's say, he's doing movie 1, he's doing movie 2, he's doing movie 3. If they're doing concurrently, they're trying to, create a movie, and if they want to create it, they will attach an ID to it. So you will keep as an atomic integer, because increment in an atomic integer is atomic. If you don't know what atomic integer is, please go and watch the crash course for multi-threading. And with that said, you will be using that. Now, obviously, we were using a lot of stuff on seat locking. So who will handle the availability of seats? Obviously, my seat availability service. This service, again, important one, will actually be handling, or he will be asking the lock for what? Because see, the name here is seat availability service, seat availability. So get me the available seats. How? Whatever seats you had, call the booking service to get the booked seats, and then call the seat lock provider, which you saw just now above, to get the locked seats. You have the locked seats, you have the booked seats, remove it from the total seats, which means you will get the available seats. And that is what its primary task is, getting the available seats, which means I will remove all the unavailable seats, and unavailable seats are seats which are already booked and seats which are already locked. Now, again, this logic, can be more given a grace to it, because it's not very much important for you to get the actual locked seats. You can just show locking, because again, this will not be exactly concurrent at that point in time, because things will change. It's a call going to the user bag. Obviously, it's a millisecond game. The things can still be logged and not visible to the user. It's completely fine. But yeah, booked will be visible. Now, same goes for booking service, because as if you remember that here we are keeping two things. For my seat service, I need a booking service to get the booked seats. My my get lock provider or seat lock provider, or my seat lock service for my locking. So obviously I'll just get the booking service out. Again, the same shitty stuff that getting the booking, getting all the booking, creating a booking, and getting the booked seats, and so on and so forth. Again, confirming the booking. To confirm a booking, you will have to start a payment, and let's say if you could just call the corresponding confirm booking, you can do that. But obviously, to confirm the booking, you can add that validation of validating the lock, because let's say, again, as I mentioned, that when someone said that, bro, I want to book it, so you can just check if it's for that user only or not. Again, it's more of a business thing, not pretty much required for you to implement it. You can just simply say that I have logged it, I'll just simply book it. It's okay to not compare users, to actually not validate if this lock is holded by this user or not. Not much required in this case, because obviously you have to wrap up stuff. Now, because we were dealing of payment, you have to deal with the payment when you will book. When the booking will be completed, you have to deal with the payment itself while you are booking it, because why not payment? So I use payment strategy. Now, this we have been using in literally all the problems of LLD. We have used, again, in all of these problems, we have used strategy design pattern very heavily, and that's what we are using here as well. Simple payment strategy interface, which will simply say process payment. You can literally have reject payment, possible. Again, business logic can change, but this is bullshit stuff which you write, again, which I'm telling right now, but I'm not focusing it, because I have already focused all this stuff when I was dealing with them. I don't want to repeat stuff, although I know I'm repeating it right now. But again, that's the thing, because people end up coming to this video and they expect that I will teach them everything in one video. Not really. I can teach everything in a course, but not in one video. That's the catch. Now, obviously, I will have a UPI payment. Again, I have left a simple business logic for you to implement. Just go and implement it. Then I will have a payment service, which will obviously accept a payment strategy. And that's where I should make sure that I will process fail payment or process the final payment, because final payment, when processed, then only I can confirm the booking. Elsewise, I cannot confirm the booking. Now, as I mentioned that right now we saw movie service, theater service, seat, so on and so forth, many services we saw. All of these services will obviously be controlled by a controller. Again, required in an interview? Not really at all. As I already mentioned, that you should only focus on keeping a service and a model, or keeping a controller. Again, you can interchangeably use controller and a service in any round. It's completely fine, because you are being judged to make a service. If you name it as a controller, manager, handler, you're hidden, not required. And obviously models are obviously for sure required. So yeah, that's one thing. Never make DO and stuff. That's the most shitty thing you can do. Obviously there are some problems where, for example, cache, right? In a cache you need to have although again I'm saying for cache I will not go on to this controller model, all that stuff. Sorry, controller, service, DO, I'll not go into it. But still, for questions like cache, you have to interact with a DB, right? Because cache is kind of caching what DB thing. So yeah, in these cases you will put up DB and you can then show the corresponding interaction with DB itself. But yeah, obviously like not required for these problems at least. Now coming on back, we will have a movie controller which will simply call the movie service to do the job. Theater controller which will call my theater service to do the job. Show controller which will call the show service and other services for actually to create the shows and get the available seats. Now for get available seats, I could have made another controller, seat availability controller, which is calling my seat availability service, and that is actually figuring out stuff. Yeah, you can do it. Now, obviously, I will have a booking controller which will actually call the booking service and theater service and stuff just to create the booking, and obviously my payment controller which will actually call my payment service. Now again, the entire reason why this code actually became large was because of you will have controllers, you will have your services, you will have the payment strategies, all the interfaces that you wanted. Then you will have the concrete payment strategies, you will have the concrete, enums and stuff, you will have the concrete log providers. And that's what actually made the corresponding code very big. But again, you got the idea, right? These are all the core components, core entities, models. Then you have your controllers, bullshit stuff. Then you have your main services, which did the job, but primarily was booking service and your seat availability service. In that, the other primary one was your log provider. For that, you made an interface, and then the concrete log provider, which is the C log provider. And again, status, category, all that is shitty stuff. You don't have to do it. Now, let's continue with the main code, which can make you a bit, scary, because this is how big the main code is, right? Again, it might look small if you're seeing it on a laptop, but go and check out the corresponding GitHub. That then you will realize how big the code is. Now, coming on that, firstly, what we did, again, we just initialized all the services here with a log provider saying the timeout is 10 minutes, which is pretty large, but okay, let's keep it. Then, passing up all the stuff onto the constructors whenever required, just passing the stuff so that my services are ready. Then I will pass these services as a constructor injection onto my controllers to get my controls ready, because now every task by the user will be performed onto the controller. Controller will delegate the task to the service, and that will perform the actual job. Now, obviously here, let's say I create a new theater. So you will see I create a new theater with a specific ID. Here the ID I am generating logically in the code, not required, and not at all required in an actual interview as well, because obviously this is handled by the DB itself. So you can take a chill pill here. Now I'm creating a screen here. So you'll see I've created a screen here. That is done. Then I'm creating some seats here. So this entire logic where we have just simply created so many seats, and that's how we have created the seats. So this is all the seats which have been created. Then we are creating a new movie. So you will see that we have created a new movie itself. Then from that we will create a show with a specific date and time. So we have created a show, and then I will simply call that, bro, get me the available seats, whatever you have. So I'll get all the available seats. So you will see specifically all are available right now, right? Up till 50. Now, with that said, okay, let's mark it that we have all the available seats. Next, we will create a user who will get us the job done. So I'll create a user who is John, and then I will say that book a specific ticket for these specific seats 1, 2, 3. So I'll book seats. Again, right now I'm just showing a simple booking process in which you're booking the seats. Everything is being happening on the main thread sequentially, right? It's pretty simple, pretty chill workflow right now. So I just simply book the seats for my John, and then processing the payment is done finally, and then I'll see a booking is confirmed. So what happened here is that processing was done finally, and then payment is simply confirmed. I will just simply verify the booking, and when I check the seats back, I see that 1 to 3 seats are now missing. So on checking the back, 1 to 3 seats are now missing. Now it's a happy flow. Come to the concurrent flow. In the concurrent flow, I have now two threads in which I have two users trying to book seats 5, 6, 7 and trying to book seats 7, 8, 9. I just started the thread at the same time, and then I will then see what are available seats. So they will try to book. Obviously, only one will be able to actually get that lock. Then I realized that I was able to book 5, 6, 7, which is the first person. But obviously, this did not get the chance because he had that common seat. With that, my available seat with that will be 1, 2, 3 were already gone. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7 will be gone. Remaining will be 4, 8, and so on and so forth. And that is how, again, that's how you were actually able to achieve whatever you wanted. Cool. Now, again, lastly, the couple of stuff that in this code, we were able to maintain separation of concerns, but you saw that how lengthy the code was. But I have already mentioned 100 times in these problems. Many a times separation of concerns, single responsibility might have gone violated, and it's completely fine. Just verbally tell it is being violated. You could have handled it by making different services, but it is not feasible to implement that everything. If you think that I will follow all design principles here, which means the entire solid, I will also try to follow, a couple of design patterns here. And then if I try to follow just saying, okay, I will also complete in 1 hour, it is impossible. Literally impossible. Because if you will do that, you will miss code functionality and you will not be able to complete the code. It's literally impossible to actually do it. So like, it's the reason that you have to find a trade-off. Verbally speak things, implement the code things, which means write the code things. But again, verbally speaking is very important. Elsewise, the person will think that you don't know anything and you will literally write the shitty code possible. But obviously, here in this code, because it's such a long code, such a long classes, and again, I can literally make it more extensible by writing much more classes in a much more decoupled way. But yeah, in this, we're actually able to have controllers, service, and domain classes. Again, I could have a DO layer as well. But yeah, next thing, it is following single responsibility. Again, is it required for you to follow? Not really. The task was primarily to work on seat lock provider, work on seat availability service, work on booking service. These were the three main stuff. If you would have done this, you would have got marks. If you would have missed this, you would have failed. As simple as that. Now, coming on that, we had different services to perform their own different operations and so on and so forth. If you would have focused, I'm guessing obviously not, then I literally used final as well. Again, not as such required in this point of view, but obviously it's a good practice because things are immutable, and then you are injecting stuff also which are immutable. And although we are not using it as a thread safe stuff right now in our code, but still it is much more better, and especially in multi-threaded environment as well, if you make things which are not changing. Now, with all that said, with a 1.5 hour long video, we finally have reached to a point in which we are having a well-structured, scalable, extensible, modular, flexible, and a code following separation of concerns, single responsibility, and literally all the design patterns which we have. Now, obviously, we missed observer design pattern, factory, obviously we missed. There are a lot of stuff which we missed. Was that required still? Obviously not. But that is how you actually write the corresponding code. Cool. Again, I wanted to keep this video a bit long and covering, controller service, different controllers, main stuff as well, which is, locking of seats, the logic of locking, why the other locking logics would not work, and why you should not lock the entire system. What happens is that if I go down, right, again, I'll just wrap up in just 5 minutes. But what happens is people end up locking on these locks. And many people end up making a new lock, let's say reentrant lock, and then lock it on that. What happens with that is that for this instance of seat lock provider, you are literally locking everyone, which means imagine that all people, even they have different shows, they are still being locked or still being blocked on each other. How bad is that? So avoid that thing. That, if you make a new lock object, make sure that that is referencing a specific show, so that you can lock on a specific show ID. You can keep a lock object which will say for a specific show ID, or let's say for a specific show, this is the lock, I'll keep or take that lock every time. This is also you can go about. But if you keep one lock, let's say reentrant lock, and then try to lock it, obviously it's a very bad practice, because you are then locking or blocking everyone else, even if they have different shows, which is very pathetic. And again, if you also try to, even lock with this locks hash map, still it's pathetic. Because obviously then you are trying to lock everyone else, which is obviously bad. And that's kind of the beauty of, how you should think of multi-threading questions. Cool. Now I'll wrap up. And I hope you guys liked it. Please make sure that you apply your brains whenever you think or do or watch any video, because people teach wrong quite a lot. And again, when I say wrong, you can literally improve this one as well if you complicate stuff. As in, if you just try different complex locking mechanisms and stuff, maybe. Obviously, and in industry as well, you have much more fine-grained locking. Because again, if my entire show is book my show, if my entire show is booking concerts, then I will make sure that I have very fine-grained locking. But again, for us to achieve that same thing in 1 hour is not feasible. And again, who wants to go into it? No, not required. Like, if you want to apply your brains, apply in HLD. Cool. Bye-bye. Take care. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure that with a like target of 2 likes. Goodbye. Take care. I say see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye. Take care. Bye-bye.